something that actually really changed for me and helped me was to move from what is my vision. I really wake up and think, do I love what I'm doing today? Some things like, I don't know, submitting invoice that you don't like. But at the end of the day, you really need to enjoy the journey. So like, I really ask myself, do I love what I'm doing? Do I love with whom I'm doing it? And this has to be there, because if you lost why and you lost the pleasure, you can have the best routine in the world. We still work 8 hours and more. Like, you cannot keep up your smile if you're suffering for 10 hours.
If you're still struggling to find a real role model outside of all of this toxic narrative of the hustle culture, then this conversation is for you. Today, we are talking with Teresa Budetta. She is a serial entrepreneur, exited founder. She just built a multimillion-dollar company in longevity, and she is all in into the science of spirituality. As you will hear in this conversation, she's all in also into meditation, all in into all of the inner work that is needed to be and become the best version of ourselves as people, as individuals, and then as founders of our companies. I'm sure you're going to love this conversation. Keep watching and let me know what you think in the comments. All right, welcome back to the Founders Bible. Today we are with Teresa. How's it going today?
I thank you, Alessandro, for having me. Very well.
Wonderful. So let me break the ice straightforward. Here at the Founder Bible, I love to ask always this very first question. Why the heck are you a founder? What's wrong with you? What's your story?
What's wrong with you? That's a very good question. First of all, I love to build communities and I love to solve problems. I think this is something very similar to a lot of other founders. But I still remember when I actually graduated university and I started to apply for consulting jobs. And I met one of the partner of a very famous, let's say, consulting company worldwide, who told me that I was unemployable because, like, in consulting companies, they look for people that are, coachable, not because I'm not coachable, but of course that, like, they can shape. And since I ask a lot of questions, I challenge a lot of situation, she thought that for me, working in a company was not the best. And actually, after a few years in Milan, I moved to Berlin, where I really found myself in the startup world. And after learning how a startup works, I thought, but why don't I start to solve the problems that I love to solve with the knowledge that I have? And here I am now.
Amazing, amazing. Well, the story of we are not fitting is probably like the biggest leitmotif of our life. I always remind the audience and myself included that 3 out of 4 of the entrepreneurs are actually neurodiverse. We have literally something that is
Yeah,
working
I'm
differently
sure.
up there. So yeah, that's our blessing and a curse at the same time. And speaking
Yeah.
of courses, let me understand a little bit, what were the big walls that you hit and smashed with your face? I told you before hitting the record button, I don't love to talk about success per se.
No,
I
of
really
course.
want to go deep into the pain behind these stories, because making the life of a founder is not easy. Everybody has his own kind of like obstacles. A founder once told me that, being an entrepreneur for a non-religious person is actually the fastest way to spirituality. We were discussing about this even before the conversation started.
I love
So
it.
guide me a little bit. What have been the obstacles for you so far?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess, as for every entrepreneur, there is one every month, and they get bigger and bigger. So it's very difficult to pick one, and maybe like I can share something that came to my mind, but something that I want to say that actually goes really in line with the person that you talked with, is that I do believe that everything happened for a reason. And also all the walls, they're really there because there is like a profound lesson that I have to learn in my spiritual and personal development path. So I do know that everything that happened, like happened for a reason. So now yes, I can call them walls, but I call them more opportunities for development. So even now that, of course, there are some challenges in my life. And I know that you also love everything related to, astrology and the spiritual growth. So, like, without going into detail, sorry for the big parenthesis, but I think it's important. Nowadays, I'm living like, a moment of change. And actually, uh, if you look at my transit, is a moment in Vedic astrology that I have to deal with Ketu. Ketu is the like god of illusion. So is the
Mm.
illusion that I was in a certain position, and that I was, like in a certain situation in my life that I have to overcome. So for me, this is like a deep moment of pain, because I have to realize that when you have investors, actually, let's talk about this one right now, like, doesn't make the company anymore yours. It makes the company, like, let's say, like a shared vision, and the vision, maybe they can not always be aligned. So this means that have to revise how I see this company. So not as my company, but our company, or even more, maybe their company one day. And, like, when I see, of course, this is a very painful realization, but when I see why it's happening, also like with all the strategy that now I have after like 10 years in the startup world, like including like the spiritual path, I really see, I know it's painful, but it's coming for me for a reason. Because in my pattern, I always get attached to an identity, and Ketu is teaching me that there is no identity in this world. So, like, there are challenges, but if you take them as opportunity and you try really to understand why they are happening, you actually learn that they are not curses or walls, but actually just like a way to jump forward.
Wow. I love this because it's like the very first time that I hear an entrepreneur like fully embracing this and fully, like, I don't know, I always hear the story, like, stoicism in Silicon Valley is quite popular. And the big founders, especially the ones that are exited and now they can kind of like talk from their pedestal. Oh yeah,
Ah,
you should
yeah.
work less. Oh
No,
yeah, that's
yeah,
the problem
exactly.
of the ego. It's like the guru like conversation. But when we are talking from the trenches here, like you are in the middle of it and you're sharing this, and you're saying it's painful, but then you're also laughing. So it's like, how is it possible? Like, get us deeper into this, and especially for like, how did you even learn or even accept it to take this as an opportunity? Because that's, I mean, you already done the little step forward to realize that this is for you, it's not against you.
Yeah, yeah, it's not happening to me, for me. Like, but like, I mean, again, I think it's first of all, it's like the journey. So like the solution that I have now, I learned them because of all the challenges that I had in the past, and I was looking for something that actually it could help me. It doesn't mean, even if I'm laughing, that is really not deeply painful, but something that I always try to do is try to understand, for example, like through astrology or through like a coaching, like why this is happening for me. I always have this belief in my mind, because I look back in my life and all the walls actually really was the universe showing me another direction. So for example, like before, it was in a startup, Foodspring, like it was sold to Mars, and also there I had to live like very, very difficult. I cried all the time that I saw the product sold, and now the company was shut down after 3 years, that we actually sold it, and it was still painful. But that was
Oh
one of the
wow.
first time that I actually thought, like, if the universe has my back and this is happening for me, like what can I learn? And that's where I start to think, okay, maybe I can learn that, like, I can give it a try to something new. Uh, let's see what happened. And that's when I actually did. Um, I launched my YouTube channel, started talking about spirituality. It went viral completely out of the blue because, I always think I have to think this is for my best because, like, only when you're optimistic, you get, the adrenaline to try something new. So, like, even now, like it doesn't bring me anywhere to think, everyone is against me, they're removing something that I worked for so many years, because if the decision is out of my control, what can I do? Nothing. I can only, like, work with the power or influence the decision on which I do really have power. So if I don't have power on the other, if I don't have power on the investor, how can I shape what I have power on? So I start to think, okay, let's take this as an opportunity, because in the past it always showed that I can create something new. And I think this is also a huge opportunity for founders, because, I mean, as well for you, Alessandro, you created so many companies. After a while, it's a muscle you train. You think, I did it once, let's do it once again. Of course, it's always tiring, right? Like, it doesn't get less tiring, but, like, it's also the excitement of saying, I mean, I do have the power to shape and create something new.
I've spent the last year asking top founders for their secret sauce. And the honest answer, there isn't just one. Yet, the internet keeps selling us a one recipe fits all. At Whole Grain Wisdom, we're building the tools to help you craft your own recipe so that your mind, body, and energy are fully aligned and you can perform under pressure without burning out. Our recipe is very simple. This podcast shares raw stories from founders who really had the courage to jump off the hamster wheel and rebuild their operating system without hustle. The newsletter is where I go deeper into the science and protocols behind re engineering flow and performance. And ultimately, we are running founders only retreats around the world to create the space for real transformation. And to be honest, that's where really the magic happens. Whole Grain Wisdom is where science meets ancient wisdom. It's where we become quantum founders, the entrepreneurs led by inner energy and flow and not finite willpower. If this resonates with you, then join us at wholegrainwisdom.com. Okay, now back to the show.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it the same for you?
It's crazy because you're making me like connect the dots with different things that I had in my mind for the past, I don't know, months, or like talking with other founders. Because of course, the beauty of having these conversations is that from my point of view, I start to see, kind of patterns among different founders.
Yeah.
Whether you wanna look into like the specific term of spirituality, whether you wanna just say, chances, the universe, or just simply
Yeah.
like even neuroscience, because the neuroscience of positivity, it's actually a science, right? There is absolutely no astral, like there is
No,
no
exactly.
um, kind of like woo woo behind this. So what I'm seeing is that, first of all, the most successful founders are the ones that are doing things that they enjoy doing every day.
Yeah.
And I was just editing before this conversation a beautiful conversation I had with another founder that is working on a mental fitness company. And he was telling me, even me, that I'm kind of like selling this stuff, I forget to find joy in every single thing that I'm doing. So the very first thing for me was, I'm not building something because I need to get to X, Y, Z. Yes, I have a vision, I have a goal for sure, but even getting obsessed by the OKRs and micromanaging every single objective is, well, this would be another podcast even. But so just doing things because you love them. What I love
Yeah.
in this specific case, having this conversation and connecting the dots is so beautiful. Let me ask you something now, because so we're opening a little bit this box of spirituality. And I think because before the conversation, like before we actually started to record, we were discussing about how kind of like lonely we feel in, like, for anyone that is not just pure materialistic, pure kind of like, not even, I wouldn't even say science based, because you can still
Exactly.
be science based with the concept of quantum physics and energy. So for anyone that is not there yet, show me a little bit the journey that you've done, because you're also work in science. I mean, you have a company in biohacking. I mean, it's not that you're doing, I don't know, like you're not reading cards on the street, right? You like that. That's also like the big stigma, or the kind of like taboo about
Yeah.
it. So how is your journey? How did it went through, like, regarding these topics? You said you always kind of like saw certain patterns, or always thought that positivity was kind of helping you on your way. What's been the journey there?
Yeah, but I think this also come again to our personality. So I've always been someone who like question a lot. So when things
Hmm.
don't work, I want to do it differently. And very similar to what you told me before, I actually had the panic attack when I was at university at 21.
Hmm.
Not like yeah, maybe even like a bit earlier, and. Of course, I started to go to psychotherapy, and then either like they um, ask me that would be better to take medication. But after 1 year that I didn't have any results, I start to look for something different. And I said, I mean, like this cannot only be it. I mean, if I still have a panic attack, there has to be something different. And I always think that if you ask the right question, like something, as you said, like a sign will show. And a friend of a friend that we were in the same network, she came to me and said, like, I don't know why, because she didn't know anything about what was happening in my life. She said, I feel an energy, and I have to tell you, I'm a Buddhist. You should come and see my like my group prayer group, because in the sharing the shining everyone meets in a house.
The sangha.
I don't know why, but I start to say, okay. And then I went there, and the first door opened, because all the doors that brought me here are all little doors that, of course, were on the way. And then I start to realize, you're not your thoughts. There is something different. And then I started to, always go deeper. Okay, so if I'm not my thought, what can I read? And I started to read The Power of Now, and all like, the personal development group. And then I started to be part more of this personal growth group, and brought me to a lot of different situation, like yoga. I did my yoga teacher training, and through my yoga teacher training, I went to Berlin and met another girl who taught me Vipassana. And she said, I don't know why, but I think I have to tell you this. No, actually, I asked her, what is the one experience that changed your life? And she said Vipassana. And then I said, okay, let's try Vipassana. So I think, if you're curious and you know that you're not, that you're broken, you keep searching. If you keep searching, you try, it's like makeup. You try a lot of different shades, and then you find yours. And maybe it's a combination of different colors. So I think now, like, it's very difficult to say, this is why when people ask me, what should I do? I can tell you what worked for me, or some exercises, but you need to try it yourself, because only like that you develop your own toolkit of solution. So that's for sure. And also the people that I now surround myself with. I mean, now we're having this conversation. I'm having my friend that I always know, they bring me, like, or they give me an insight uh, that is connected to the heart, even maybe if my toolkit are not enough to deal with that situation. And I think this is also very important, that you find the right people always.
Yeah, definitely. Guide me. One of the questions that I always ask founders is to guide me through a little bit the toolkit, you called it, I call it support system. You can have it in different ways. What makes you today be the best version of yourself every day? What do you do? What's your routine? What are the things that you learned like along the way? Maybe you can also share, how did you get to learn them, like in what
Yeah,
situation, to solve what specific thing? Because also, one thing that I feel when I was in the deep shit was that, of course, the right tool is always going to come at some point. But if this kind of conversation can help somebody to get that tool faster so that they can suffer
and
a
of course.
a little bit less time, that would be great, right? So guide us a little bit through the journey here.
Yeah. So like, what helps me? What is my support system?
What do you do, whether it's a routine, whether it's a group of people, whether it's a type of toolkit that you have, that is within you right now, like your routine, your habit, to make yourself be always at the best version of yourself.
Yeah. Um, I mean, like knowing that we cannot always be at the best, but trying to be at the best. But like, yeah, I think it's a very important question. So first of all, as like now finally the conversation is changing, because when we started in the startup world it was everything about hustling, and now maybe we realize that if in the world no there are like it's not unfortunately my metaphor, but like there is a this metaphor on the internet that life is made by three different balls. One is health,
Mm,
one is career, and the other one is family. And only if health falls then you lose everything. So of course it's everything about like how can I optimize my health, knowing myself. For me it's super important, to stay active, like either walk or do some sort of like a physical activity every day. I'm very bad with routine, so I cannot say I wake up every day and meditate 10 minutes, because for me I know that I also need to follow the flow. And something that actually really changed for me and helped me was to move from what is my vision. This is also something that was recommended to be by an astrologist, because she said this is actually not something that is good for you. Because I always got obsessed with I have to build something big. I mean, entrepreneur, I have to build something, and then I sacrificed my day to day. And actually now I really wake up and think, do I love what I'm doing today? Of course, there's gonna always be like, some things like, I don't know, submitting invoice that you don't like. But at the end of the day, you really need to enjoy the journey. So like, I really ask myself, do I love what I'm doing? Do I love with whom I'm doing it? And this has to be there, because if you lost why and you lost the pleasure, you can have the best routine in the world. We still work 8 hours and more. Like, you cannot keep up your smile if you're suffering for 10 hours. So
yeah.
like, even in the tough moment you need to think, okay, you know um, when we were doing fundraising where things were not going well, I always thought, there is something that I can still love. I love to talk with customers. I go on the WhatsApp group, write what am I doing today, share a story, or I love to be creative, doing a reel on my Instagram account, try to think, because even if it's small, it's still part of my journey and it's still something that I love doing. If you don't have that outlets for what makes you happy, that for me is creativity, like there is no morning routine that can make you go through a hell of a day. um and then of course it's everything about like movement, meditation. I moved to Valencia because I want to wake up every morning, have the 30 minutes of sunlight as Uberman recommends, connect with people. So I talk with the bar attender, ask every day, how is your family? Because connection are key. And I live very close in Valencia to this very big park that is 10 kilometers long. So every morning I have just to walk at least 15 minutes in nature. So it's, not structured, not perfect, but at least it's something that I know it's in tune with what is important for me. There is freedom, that is one of my value, and creativity. So if I can stay in tune with these two values in whatever form, I know I'm gonna make it through the day.
Amazing. Love that. So let me get closer to the wrapping up here. I'm curious. I'm starting to ask this question more often, and it's okay. You've developed all of these, let's not call them routine habits or just
Yeah.
tools that are essential for you. You're starting to accept the challenges that come at you for a reason. Does this mean that you still don't have fear anymore? Does this still mean that you don't have anxiety anymore? Like, how's it going over there? And how
Alessandro,
do you
can we
know how
stop
to
having
fix
fear?
it?
Can we stop having fear and anxiety? Then we become monk. Like, you know what always Goenka says in the Vipassana retreat, when during the last day they teach you how to do the metta meditation, that is the meditation of love, is unfortunately, I don't know like the exact word he used on how he call us. We are not monk, so we need to make the tool work in a life where someone shout at you, someone will make you unhappy. Things don't go the way you want, and I mean, unless we are not really monk or completely enlightened like Buddha, I think you still um, have fear. If like I don't know, one day I have to start something new, I will always have fear. Maybe I know how to manage it a little bit better, 20% better than the last time 3 years ago. And I hope I just can, get better. But I think this is something important because a lot of people say, and this drives me crazy, but it's easy for you. You already did it. It's actually worse for us because we did it. We showed a little bit that maybe we can do something. And now the expectations are so much higher, not only from the outside, but also from ourselves. Because you say, we raised, like the company is making 20 million a year. Now, what do? I go outside, start something new that maybe fails. And it's so much harder for us, no? But people have this
Yeah.
feeling that it's always harder for them. And actually, I say, like, look, it doesn't get easier because the stake are higher for someone successful. That is not my case. Maybe the one from the guys from Silicon Valley, even more. Because what if they fuck up and they show the world that the first success they had was just an illusion or like a matter of luck? So I think the fear is still there, but um, you need to manage it. You need to talk to yourself, say, this is only ego, I'm fine, until there is uh, and actually an exercise that really helps me, and then I shut up, is something that I learn at coaching, that is like the meta dimension exercise. So basically, I look everything from the eyes of an UFO. So I imagine an UFO being on Mars, looking at Earth, planet Earth, and like among all these 6 billion people, he finds me and gives his perspective on what is happening to me. So for example, even now that maybe I had a discussion with my investor, I go in the UFO and the UFO says there are people dying in Palestine. Are you really fucking kidding me? With your startup problem, then no one will give a shit about you biohacking NAD plus in 10 years? Really? And then I say, yeah, like if we look at from this perspective, maybe what seems so bad can be reframed. And of course, it's not because I don't have a problem, but just to reframe it because the ego, like, catastrophize everything. So this helps me a lot talking with the more with the UFO than with the I.
Wow, I love this. You know, I wanted to close it here, but you just gave me this answer, and now I want to ask you a very last one, which is then a question that they also ask me regarding this topic of okay, it's easier because you already done it. Does it mean that when you see life in this perspective, and therefore, we were also talking about the hustle culture, so you really you really forget about all of this mindset that doesn't bring you anywhere. Does this mean that you're less ambitious?
Ah, very good question. Very good question, Alessandro. I think it changes a lot. I think the ambition, and this is something that, I struggle a lot in the startup world because I speak with a lot of founders that are, let's call it type A. I give everything to be successful. And I think that for me, success is really to be happy every day. And like, I'm sure that if Sequoia or like AZ will come to me as investors, they will not see the drive that they see in these people in what they consider drive. Because for me, drive will be, make a company successful because it can create an impact, because we can keep doing what we love, because I can create a community inside and outside that I love. I will not die to make them rich. And according to many, um, I don't know, startup Bible, we are differently ambitious, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, well, for me, the answer that I gave the very first time that they asked me is the fact that you're not, you don't have an ambition that comes from the outside.
Yeah,
So you're
exactly.
not
Validation.
constantly chasing outside of you something. And of course, as everything that is outside of you, as you were saying before, is something that you cannot really control. The only thing that you can really control, the really only thing, is inside of you. So if you chase it from the inside, if it's really aligned with you as a person, your energy profile, all sorts of work that we do at Holger Wisdom, then it's completely different, because
Yeah,
first you
yeah.
have an inner drive that cannot be, like the fire cannot be extinguished because it comes from the inside.
And I think if
Amazing.
like as a founder you have it, because like all the founders that I meet, like you can see that like, I don't know if it's ambitious. For sure, there is drive. This is when I say like differently ambitious. Like there is a drive, something that like creativity that needs to be like driven into the world. Maybe it's not the same level as you said of someone that is externally validated, but for sure like they are equally strong. Yeah,
Yeah,
very, very interesting.
absolutely.
But I love this conversation. Thank you so much, Alessandro.
Thank you, Teresa. It's been amazing.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.